That'll be Raven too. Everything's Raven here at Well Read. Welcome back. Here we are, everybody. How's it going? Look, if you watched last week, if you listened, you have no idea this happened. But if you only watched, you probably wondered what was going on with the Indian outlaw Tushar Singh, who was apparently with us, but only in spirit. Although he physically was present, but just not speaking because we didn't allow him to. What happened was
very Indian of him,
we
to
didn't
be
we
there in
didn't know he
spirit.
was
I
in.
felt like it was some type of deportation band holding pen.
Yes,
where I'm
solidarity
here, but I
with the
cannot
administration.
partake.
That's what we're doing. No Browns
Guacamole
allowed.
Bay.
But no, it was just we're just stupid and computer dumb and didn't even realize he was in there. But now he's back, and to spite Drew, who may or may not show up, by the way, which that'll be funny. Either way, it'll be funny in my opinion. But he might
Drew's
be
here.
here.
He just
He's
texted me. He said, "Been here. Please tell him."
Well,
I don't.
what the fuck is going on here?
There we go.
Okay,
there
Drew.
we go.
Oh,
Drew's
all right.
here.
Okay.
Oh hell yeah!
And
Drew's
Tushar's
here,
back.
so we can finally start the goddamn show. Glad everybody's here. Here we go. Bubba Shout the podcast, and that's right. A show about country at its height. Don't expect no shit from 2005. Bubba Shout the podcast, and that's right.
That's right. Welcome back. Surprise, Drew, to your own show. How's that hitting you?
A little curious what's going on here.
Well, in your absence over the time, it was hard for me and Corey to find things to talk about. And at some point, we're like, it'd be funny if we just as Drew's coming back, we just start doing Bubba Shot the podcast and see what he thinks about it. We got Tushar here and everything. It is April Fool's Day, but this is not an April Fool's thing. This is just a silly little idea we had. But Tushar showed up. Everybody's here.
Tushar, what's up, dude?
What's up, buddy?
Tushar. Someone told me about an hour ago that you guys did it last week. And then I went to listen, and the only thing you guys were like, he's going to be mad. The only thing that I was mad about is you were like, we don't know when he's coming back. We don't know what's going on. I'm like, I told y'all that I'm going to New Orleans for a month, and then you guys were playing it. Maybe it was a kayfabe thing, like, maybe this will get him to come back the day he told us he would come back. We don't know where he's been. He could be dead or alive. It was like, what?
Yeah.
I literally was like, hey, I'm going to go there for a month.
Maybe 6 weeks.
Well, I mean, yes, but no, it was kind of a kayfabe thing to me. You're a what's the word? A free spirit type of feller. So when you're absent, to talk about it as we don't know where he is, he's running naked. Thing. Yeah. Well, you weren't here for any of that. It's just a funnier way to talk about it. You know?
You are someone that is filled with wanderlust, which is why we picked the song we picked today, which is Heads Carolina, Tails California, because that is a song all about wanderlust. You're the type of person that
I feel like I'm being bullied into doing my own show. That's what it feels like.
Well, let's just can we just pretend that I just brought this song up because I've been listening to it a lot lately. I actually never stopped.
No, I don't think I'm going to pretend. I think I'm going to keep being a dick about this.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, I feel like it's probably what you guys wanted anyway, but I think I'll keep being a dick about it.
Okay.
Trey texted me earlier because we didn't know if you were going to have known that we were doing this because he was like, he checked
I found out
I don't know.
Well, I found like an hour ago that you had done it, but I didn't think you were going to do it today.
Yeah, and I said, do you got facts to the song or do you want me to do it? And Trey's like, it don't matter. Plus, I'm reasonably confident Drew is going to derail this.
Yeah, purposefully, So I
I'm not gonna like I'm just not gonna pretend. Like you guys are like, oh, let's pretend I just brought. Nah, I'm good.
Okay. Well, but we do have our buddy Tushar here, and I don't know when the last time you guys saw him was, but it's been a minute for me. So Tushar, how you doing?
We got him a white lady.
Yeah.
And then he stopped talking to us. Were we three white dudes? Were we three white dudes in a negligee for you? We were your white lady.
White lady, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like a pyramid scheme. But I will say,
being white's a pyramid scheme, dude. The Jews got in just in time.
Reminds me of her. It reminds me of the wanderlust that people have, and I have a lot of thought. I just listened to the song right before this for the first time, and so the video is I have a lot of thoughts. I also got to jump some relatively soon, but I'm excited to be back, fellas. I miss y'all.
Because you do have to jump relatively soon, I say you just get into some of those thoughts. Tell us what you think, since you got a time limit here.
I mean, it seemed to me that this lady is never going to be happy because when she gets off to South Carolina or California, she's gonna be like, let's head to the Middle East or the Far East, and it's gonna keep going. It's a vicious cycle. So that was my core net reaction to the song.
Didn't you say that it reminds you of your white girlfriend, your white woman? Yeah. You said, this reminds me of her, and then immediately said, this bitch ain't never gonna be happy. I can tell you that much right now.
I mean, I'm just saying it's part of the core wanderlust ethos. It's like once you wander somewhere, it's not like you're done. It keeps going.
Yeah, but for me though, it depends. Well, I guess this isn't wanderlust; it's a different thing. But for me, if the lady in this song is coming from a place of like where I'm at, I know it don't hit, so I just want to be somewhere else. That's a different type of thing, in my opinion. Because I've always felt that in my hometown. I'm sure.
Right. Like everywhere, like no place is as good as you think it's going to be, but everywhere is better than Salina, no matter what.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
right. It's the foundational, like the grass is greener type of thing somewhere else.
Yeah, but
but I also share that sentiment. I fundamentally share that sentiment. I'm just like, well, this place just new is better. And I really do believe that. So I empathize with
See, we've always operated on same hits.
Yeah, but not when same as Salina.
That's true.
Well, I think it's a question of does this don't hit, I need somewhere else come from this place actually not hitting? Or like a void inside your soul and that's probably the difference between like I live in Salina and I have wanderlust.
Right.
One of the like weirdest, I guess, realizations of my 30s was like, oh, I'm always going to feel this way. It's not the place. Like, it's not the this, it's not the that. And ironically, like, that really helped, like, a lot. I talked to Trey about this when we were talking about your buddies who quit their jobs to hike the Pacific. Mm-hmm. You said something to me like, I always thought you'd do something like that. And I was like, I think I always thought I'd do something like that, too. And I did do versions of it in various countries, and I still felt the same way I felt. At some point, I was like, all right, it's me.
Yeah. Well, that's what they say.
But I didn't know that because I was in Sunbright the first time I felt it. So I was like, hey, man, I think there's more to this existence than like one gas station. And the only thing exciting that happens is when outsiders rob the bank and our locals join the shootout for fun. Like, that is a fun Wednesday. Yeah, Charlie Clark. I thought I told y'all that story. Had to hide out with us, pretended to be working on our roof all day. So when the cops came looking for him, for shooting at the bankers, by the way. I told you guys the story. I definitely told you guys the story.
I don't. Well, I mean, there's been so many crazy hometown stories over the years, but it's that thing.
But anyway, I had it. Like I needed to like leave Sunbright, but then I just kept kind of feeling that way. I had a version of wanderlust, and by the way, Africa, Australia, these places were incredibly formative for me, and I do not regret going. It is wild that the song is like, what about California or Carolina? Two wildly different sides of the coin there.
Yeah, no, that's one thing I always, because to me, I grew up literally wanting to move to Hollywood from Salina, so I always did love this song, but I was always like, well, not Carolina, though. You know, that's sort of how I always
She was going to flip again if it landed on tails.
Absolutely.
Run it back. Yeah. Best out of three, best out of three, best out of three.
Well, it's funny because, like, when I first heard that song, obviously, like, Carolina just meant, because I was from the South, so Carolina just meant same. There's like, so that what are you talking about? Like, that'd be why would I want to go somewhere that's like the same? But now that I'm older and like, if it was like, heads Raleigh, Carolina, or tails, California, I could see myself being torn. Like I do like both of those places or whatever. But the whole contention here, she's like, it doesn't matter as long as we're together, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like, to me, that screams young love. That's young love, where you really do believe that. You really do believe, like, it doesn't matter. We could be on the road. And then fucking 3 weeks later, you're at a truck stop taking a shower because you've been driving forever and you've spent all your money on gas. And now you realize, like, oh, God, like I was just horny. You know what I mean? Like I was just
not to
really
mention
horny.
that traveling with somebody is a real make or break
Test.
thing, or it can
Yeah.
be. There's this girl we used to know in Knoxville. She had this thing she'd do like every 2 years. She'd take her new man abroad and then dump him when they got back. And it started to be like a thing that the ladies they were like, man, she's got some kind of weird fetish. And I go, no, she's waiting on one of them to be cool. And then she's going to marry him. And that's literally what she did. Shout out Tess.
Yeah. That's what Bill Murray Bill Murray gave this advice, which is like very out of touch advice, but like still I agree with him if you have the means to do it. But he was telling everybody, he's like, before you get married, travel with this person. And he meant like all around the world. He's like, go everywhere with them, like travel with them, do this. And he was talking about like go to China, get all this stuff most people can't afford. But like I think in a micro sense that would like, yeah, before you start seriously wanting to take the next step, you need to get in a car with someone for about 2 weeks and see how that rolls, because that really shows you who you are. And it's not all roses. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's just the car part, not just the car part. Like, meaning, me and Katie could not possibly be different travelers, but it's really not that big of a deal. But like in the grand scheme of our relationship, I mean, but like, I remember the very first trip we took together, New Orleans. The minute I realized that she didn't really even care about the food in New Orleans, I was like, well, what are we even doing here?
Right.
But
you
like
drunk anywhere.
Yeah, right. But but again, we've been together for fucking 15 years, and we do go places. You can make it work, but if you're an 18-year-old and you get, you're driving across, you're breaking down on your way to fucking Carolina for some reason from Arkansas, and you end up in a Love's outside of fucking Cleveland, Tennessee or whatnot, and that could really put a strain.
Yeah,
Drew,
I mean, I hear what you're saying about Katie, but I feel like it's less like I want to eat and you want to go listen to music, and more like, will you go with me though? When we get there, are you going to bitch the whole time? Like, I think when you travel with people, what you learn is the parts of their personality they're able to kind of keep at bay in the comfort of their own home or the comfort of their own routine come out. Because, like, it's not like Andy and I like to do the same shit when we travel. It's just more like I can stand her day 4 of a road trip.
Yeah, right.
And that's that's way more important because she likes good food, but it's like whatever to her. But I'll take her and she'll be like, oh, that was cool. And she doesn't remember the name of it. She doesn't care if we ever go back, but it was cool. You know what I mean?
Right.
She was like, thank you for sharing that with me. Whereas, we've all traveled with somebody, it's just like they don't, like it's the way they travel don't vibe with us. And that can be anything from being at each other's throats just to like, you want to stay at a hot. Now, here's where it'll get you with preferences, like how you want to live. Like, fuck, like if your interest is food versus music, but like how you trying to live while we travel. Are you interested in the hostel and going to this like unknown swimming spot on the coast of Italy? Or do we need to stay in a 4-star and do we have to do every fucking thing in your little tourist book? Or a mix of that,
Right. And I think like the difference between just dating and being in puppy love versus like being someone's partner and being married is like every now and then you just got to do stuff that you don't want to do because they like it. But a big part of that is also pretending not to be annoyed by it. Like you're just like, okay, we're doing her thing today. I'm going to smile and then we'll do my thing tomorrow, or whatever, which is like, I don't know, when you're dating, you always try to find things. It's like, no, we both must hit. Things must hit for both of us. But it's like, dude, when we go to like, Helen, Amber wants to go to the goddamn Cabbage Patch nursery things. Like, oh, we got to see that. I always wanted to see it when I was a kid. I could give a fuck. You know what
Corey's
I mean?
like, all right, anal then.
Yeah, right.
One you, one me.
Yeah, but I'm going to go,
And then you have to act not annoyed unless I asked you to.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But no, you're right. Like, because Amber is the type that she's all about the deals. So she would prefer to stay. If there was a roach infested motel and she could save $5, she would do it. And I won't. I'm like, no. I spent way too much time on the road. Like, she's like, but we're not even going to be in here that much. And I was like, yeah, but we're going to be in here for the sleep part. And the sleep part's very important to me. And I need to be in a place where the thermostat's on the wall and the sheets are clean and all that. And like, we bicker about shit like that. But yeah, you're right. If you're with a hostile person and you're not a hostile person, hostile meaning like the the place to sleep in, that'll fuck you up.
Yeah, going back to the first thing that me and Drew were talking about earlier, I know it's my own personal bias, but I just being in Salina when this song was out and the feeling the way I did about it, I know this song is about a couple who's going to do this together, but I always we're talking about like, oh, hitting the road and seeing all the site and doing all this stuff in hostels and hotels and shit. I always interpreted this song as about two people who were in agreement, like, we got to get the fuck out of here.
No, I agree with that.
Like out of here, where we're at, don't hit. I don't care if it's Carolina or California, but we ain't right for this. We're right for each other, but we're not right for this place. And it's time to fucking go is how I always interpreted it, which I feel like is a little bit of a different thing than like.
There's no male side to this song, right?
He's the one that had the quarter.
Well, all right, that's two questions in a row that I realize are just designed to like elicit this conversation. Let me just say, though, I can answer these questions based on a 28-year-old memory, seeing as how I was given no time to prepare for this podcast today. Mm-hmm. Just want to bring that up. I don't think there's a male side at all.
Prepare either, by the way.
No, there's not.
Clearly. I don't think
there's not a male side.
It would be interesting as a duet. Mm-hmm. Be like, I was thinking more like Branson or perhaps Pittsburgh, bitch.
Yeah,
or
would be
like a 30 years later, the dude writes his version of it, of how that trip changed their life and what happened afterwards. You know,
I think it's just a Kenny Chesney song, dude. I think they just got pregnant and so they had to stay in that fucking town.
Yeah.
Yeah, this seems like a prequel to any number of ways like Choose Your Adventure country music hits from men. She wanted to do this and something happened, and that was the original story of love.
Isn't there a Morgan Wallen song, I Love You, but not more in my hometown? Which as a concept is wild.
Are you serious?
That's the conceit of it. I don't really know how it goes.
Supremely does not hit for me.
Did you see where he is? Did you see where he is once again? Since this organically got brought up, he is once again the conservatives' darling because of what he did on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, you mean when he went to Saturday Night Live voluntarily, planned for months, and then performed every song he was contractually obligated to, and then left at the end and pretended like that was some sort of like fuck you to the establishment.
Yes.
Didn't he also tweet something or something to it?
He tweeted in
I got to get out here.
His Instagram story. It was a picture of the plane and it said, "Take me to God's country."
It was his private jet.
His private, yeah, exactly. Which, like, dude, honestly, it may have just been he'd already said hey to everybody and whatever. I don't know. It's also very possible that like he didn't get along with a lot of people in the cast because they're like, oh, you're the guy famous for saying the N-word. You know what I mean? But it is so funny that they were like, yeah, he's sticking it to the Hollywood liberals. And it's like by playing on their show, you know, like it's such.
Well, he did get their money.
Yeah, that's true. He did get their money, but
I don't know. You may not get paid for that.
I think they do, but I'm about to say, but it's barely anything. It's just like a formality.
You have to get scale. Yeah.
So he agreed to a huge pay cut to perform live.
Yeah, because that was that joke that when Norm Macdonald and Oprah were on Letterman one night, he's like, "Hey, me and Oprah are making the same money. Isn't that crazy?" Because you got to get paid scale, but also we could interpret this could be different. I mean, we're interpreting it as like a couple that's in love, but also it could be like they're having trouble in their relationship and they think they need something different. Because you know, a lot of our people do that with a baby. You know, like they're not having a good relationship and they're like, hey, let's have a child. Which to me
those are baby names.
Always
those are baby names. Carolina and California are what they're going to name the kid.
Yeah, because I've always thought like people that are like they're having they're on the verge of divorce, so they're like we're going to have a baby, and I'm like that's like if your alternator's broke and you get a roof rack, you know what I mean? Like that doesn't help anything. You just got an extra thing. So it could be that, but. I mean, different always seems better. And going back on what you were saying, Drew, about, that wanderlust and realizing that it like never goes away and that being sort of like freeing for you. I had a similar thought the other day about this whole like, oh, if I could just be here, if I could just be here. I was listening to Shelley Berman on Mark Maron's podcast. And if you don't know who Shelley Berman is, he plays Larry David's dad in Curb Your Enthusiasm. Legendary comedian, first comedian to ever win a Grammy, sold out Carnegie Hall, first comedian to ever do that. I mean, fucking legend. But the dude spent the entire interview being bitter. He's 90-something years old, bitter that Jack Benny got more popular than him or something like, and
never goes away.
And it never goes away, right? And so there was always that. You hear these people go like, you know, you always think if you win an Emmy, you'll be fine, but then it's like you won an Oscar, and like hearing him be like that actually was like a huge relief to me to hear. I was like, oh, if it never goes away, then just don't entertain it. You know what I mean? Just don't entertain it at all. And that's sort of how I feel with like the wanderlust of like, yeah, I mean, I'm sure you and Amber would be, it would be a nice, like if you moved to DC, it would be cool, but like it'd be over in a minute and you'd be thinking about moving somewhere else. And like,
that's true. But a huge difference between that and what you're talking about is it wasn't up to him who got more popular. He did his best, and in the car, like you can just go to DC.
That's true.
Like I can backpack through the Alps, honestly, way easier at this point in my life than I can win an Emmy.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm just saying, like, yeah, it's just that whole grass is greener thing. But again, all of that is negated by if Trey is correct and like they're living in Salina, then they're 100% correct.
I want to talk more about your Rocky relationship thing. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I gotta go in a minute, but I just want to say like, there's this thing that the positive way to look at this is, she is aspiring for something better, and the song to me is a letter from her to him to say, let's go do this together. Like, it's aspirational in nature. It's not like, let me drag you to this other place because this place sucks. It just felt like, let's go conquer the world together. And that is what makes the whole fucking thing run. Like, literally, like the whole world run on that.
It almost has to be anywhere but here is better, because she says it doesn't matter where we're going long as we're together. Mm-hmm. And if that was true, then they could just stay put. But obviously the place sucks. You know what I mean?
Or it's people like getting them down.
Right.
We need a fresh
I'm
start.
with Tushar. I mean,
okay. I too am with Tushar. Tushar. Tushar, what do you rate it out of 3 Earnhardts before you got to get out of here?
It's a pretty song. Like, it's catchy. I can see how it's like a very catchy song. The hook is great. She's purty. The video's cool. Like, I can see why it was selected, you know? So let's go 2.5, only because I'd like to hear the guy's side. That'd be fun.
Of course. Jo Dee Messina.
Is he agreeing?
Jo Dee Messina is a very pretty gal, and by the way, this song was like a make it or break it for her. Like, she was pretty much broke, and this song came her way, and Tim McGraw really believed in her and the song, and he co-produced that album. And the next thing you know, she goes from having, you know, a suitcase full of everything she's got to touring with Tim McGraw. So it's also, you know, I'd say probably sentimentally her favorite song. And Jo Dee Messina is wonderful. Did you ever hear Laura Peak's joke where she was talking about the Nashville airport, and she's talking about how like all the announcements they have that are like, it's like, hey, this is Tim McGraw, and you know, go get your bags down here, and please stay in a single file line. And then Jo Dee Messina comes on, and she's like, remember, there's terrorist activity, so if you must see something, must say something. I'm Jo Dee Messina. So fucking funny.
All right, guys, I gotta jump. I love you guys. Right. Have fun. I'll listen to this later.
Love you, buddy.
Bye, Tushar.
See you later. Bye. You guys know who Cole Swindell is?
I know the name.
Okay, I don't. I mean, he's some new country guy. I'm wondering, like, how much does he not hit? Like, does he kind of hit at least?
Okay, a lot don't hit.
Okay, all right. Because he apparently did a take on this song, which I guess was a big hit.
Is it the man's take?
I don't know. It's called She Had Me at Heads Carolina is what it's called.
Oh, I heard that piece of shit. It's
Okay,
basically
it's
just him doing the melody of the song, but adding a couple different things. It's actually, I'm pretty sure it's about his love for that song and Jo Dee Messina. But essentially, what he did was just took the melody and stuff and just added. That's how, that song hit for me, and I fell in love with country music because of Heads Carolina, Tails California. So it's like, I mean, I could be misremembering, but I'm pretty sure that's all it is. So it's like not even that creative. This guy's probably a fan of ours, listening to the show. Super sorry.
I doubt it. Cole Swindell, I doubt it.
Yeah, look up the lyrics to Cole Swindell's thing and tell me if I'm wrong.
I don't think it's literally about Jo Dee Messina, which, that would hit, but it's like, it's a song about he's in a bar, he's in like a honky tonk, and there's a woman singing there, and she sings the song Heads Carolina, Tails California, and he falls head over heels for her. Is that's the premise of the song. But I ain't never heard it or nothing. He's like, hey, I got a Chevy. She can flip a quarter. I drive her anywhere from here to California. When this song is over, melody. I got to find her because she had me at Heads Carolina. I guess is how it goes, assuming it apes the melody.
Yeah. Also, there's another, I forgot in this, where we're talking about Carolina and California couldn't be two more different places. There's another instance of that in the song when she says, I've got people in Boston. Ain't your daddy still in Des Moines?
Des Moines, yeah.
I got to tell you, could not be two more different places. And all the love in the world to Des Moines.
Pretty white.
Especially the funny one. Yeah, yeah. Both, yeah, for sure, very white. But, like, dude, Des Moines, again, it's the best Iowa has to offer. And Iowa people won't even get mad at this because the most I've ever heard a place get shit on is by the Iowegians themselves. There just ain't nothing to do. You got to go to Boston, baby. I mean, if it's a cost of living thing, sure, go to outside Des Moines, but whatever.
Maybe it was racism in a different accent. They wanted a non-Southern racist experience, so they were like, Boston, Des Moines. Boston? What else? That's all we got. Huh? Uh-huh. It's too fucking cold up there in Idaho.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, what else rhymes with coin? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
in Boston, they're racist, but in Des Moines, they don't have them. It's a toss-up. Which one? But
it does kind of work, I guess, with the themes. If you think that the idea is like, I mean, that she literally says it doesn't matter as long as we're together. So, if that's the theme of it, it could be literally anywhere. Then it kind of highlights that by comparing Boston to Des Moines or California to Carolina. And by the way, Tushar said South Carolina. I think we're in a group. To me, it's been North Carolina in my head.
She
says
nobody calls South Carolina Carolina.
Right. She says up in the mountains. So, and like, dude, the mountain part of North Carolina is fucking awesome.
Dude,
for the record.
And that's why
it just wasn't far enough away from Salina for me as a child.
Exactly. But that's why I bugged back with, like, as an adult, again, as a kid, I wouldn't have thought I'd been like Carolina. Why? Because to me, the South was just the South. I'd only ever been in Georgia. But like, yeah, now as an adult, like, if you tell me, I mean, I'm actually, if you're like, you can live, we'll get you a nice spot in California or a nice spot in the mountains, right outside of Raleigh or in Smyrna or whatever, I'd be like, that all day. Abso-fucking-lutely that. You know what I mean? Because, dude, North Carolina, man, some of the most beautiful area in the country. Song was written by Tim Nichols and Mark D. Sanders. Have those dudes come up before, Drew? Have they
Nichols, I believe, has. I could be wrong.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. It was on her a self-titled debut album, Jo Dee Messina, and it was for Curb Records. They were looking to break a new female artist into the booming country scene, and they were like, hey, here's a fiery which, by the way, do y'all know where Jo Dee Messina's from?
I do.
Massachusetts.
Yeah. And only moved to Nashville to do country music stuff at the age of 19. Yes, I agree completely. That is
because
I mean, Jo Dee Messina, and she had these bangers. Damn. I never thought she was a Yankee.
Maybe she's Italian. Maybe it's De Messina.
No, she is a spaghetti person, or at least
she took that apostrophe and she made it a pepperoni.
She's half spaghetti, half potato. I reckon she's Irish Italian, is what I read.
That's a good one to be. I gotta say though, like of all the people that have done that, like I mean, that's obviously a common thing. You know, Alan Jackson literally wrote a song, "She's Gone Country," about this phenomenon. But of the people, like Jo Dee Messina had me fooled, dude. I mean, she seems like a very country. I mean, the name alone.
Who's the worst version of it?
Oh man,
Aaron Rodgers when he's got a concussion.
When he's got his own
Rodgers
pills.
when he's on pills.
Honestly, if we're gonna go non-country, it's Brianna Chicken Fry for me.
Yeah, I don't know enough about
I've been
her.
on the only reason I do is because Andy watches TikTok dramas and then tells me about them. She accused Zach Bryan after they broke up of emotional abuse, and look, I'm not denying that he did it. It seemed like he probably did. Then she tried to spin that into like she now has a podcast for victims because Zach Bryan broke her phone and yelled at her. And I'm not trying to downplay someone breaking your phone and yelling at you, but I am trying to say that like there's probably better spokespeople for the whole slew of experiences there. Anyway, she's from New York or somewhere. She called herself Brianna Chicken Fry, and then in my opinion went after our top guy, you know, in terms of fame. She's a Kardashian to me.
Is that what she does? She's like an influencer.
She has a Barstool podcast.
Okay, and she pretends to be Southern. You're saying, like,
well, she
her
has
last name is Chicken Fry.
She changed it to Chicken Fry. I wouldn't say she goes so far as like changes her accent up. She pretends like she's the equivalent of a college gal. I mean, that's the other thing. She's been talking about like hookups and all that. She's probably 30. Look, I hate her. Anyone out there who's like wants to come after me because like she's a victim, fine, but I hate her. To me, she's my least favorite version of this. How about that?
I'm not saying I didn't even know she sang. I thought that she was.
Here's what I'm saying. If there was a bitch from Salina who started calling herself Julie Pepperoni, and then she started throwing accusations at one of your favorite artists, Trey, wouldn't a part of you be like, I don't know, we should take it with a grain of salt?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude. Yeah. Absolutely, man. I mean, dude, there's no river so long it don't contain a bend, as they say. But like, here's my thing. Like, I'm never victim blame. Like, I believe women, all that. Physical abuse, nope. Sexual abuse, nope. And I understand that emotional abuse ain't good, but it's like, so we can't even talk shit. You know what I mean? Like, dude, emotional abuse is what you
always,
do.
Always, every time I think I have a hot take that I'm nervous about, I can trust Corey to be like, no, don't worry, I'll make it 7 times worse.
Smooth out on it.
Emotional abuse is often what you resort to so you don't punch them in the fucking face. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to get it out somehow.
You can't hit me with it. You cannot end that sentence with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could have just not responded, but if you hit me with the, you know what I'm saying, I got to be like, nah, I mean, I'm not saying I've never felt that, but I can't agree with it. I can't say.
I'm not saying you should do it. I'm just saying I don't think it's a big enough deal to launch a podcast career.
That's all I was saying. And then you tried to make it another thing. I was saying that.
I'm just saying, what is emotional abuse? Like, that's all in the eye of the beholder. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, some people are like way more sensitive. Like, dude, there's some shit Amber's has said to me that like a lesser man might have considered emotional abuse, but I don't, because it's like she was just talking shit. You know what I mean? We were upset at each other. You talk shit, then you say you're sorry. Like, what the fuck is, you know, again, I know there's dudes who like Tony Sopranos who like literally systematically break women down. And if he was doing that, fuck him. But just like, if he was just like, hey, give me the remote, you dumb cunt. Like, that's not emotional abuse, you know?
Definitely is.
Well, it is, but give me the remote, you dumb cunt, repeatedly. Yeah, unless it's like a funny bit you guys do.
You don't say it more than once.
Anyway, so but I do think that, I don't know, it just depends. It depends. People can be psychos and it can rise to a certain level, but I think generally most human beings, maybe I'm outing myself here, most human beings I think have been in at least one relationship in their life that was toxic as fuck, and ergo
I got beat.
Was right. You were actually physically abusive towards you, and that. But everybody's been like toxic relationships that were definitely emotionally abusive in both directions, and you were caught up in it, and you were doing it too, because either defensively 100%. Or whatever. And it's just a thing that humans do, unfortunately. Now, if it was completely one-sided in his case and it was beyond the pale, then sure. But there's definitely gray area there, without a doubt, that there isn't when it comes to tuning them up over casserole, you know?
Yeah,
I realize I did this, so it is on me. But because I did it, I guess I feel the need to respond. I guess I'm trying to say, like, to agree with what you just said, Trey, I think everyone, when they were younger, especially, like, it depends on how you were raised, I suppose. But, like, a lot of people have to be bad in a relationship before they can learn how to be good.
Absolutely.
All I was trying to say, though, was making yourself the spokesperson and, like, having merch. They, like, made diss songs on Barstool about him. And I don't want this to sound like it's, like, situated in my love for Zach Bryan, because, honestly, he kind of, like, got pretty old to me. I just, like, because Andy was telling me about their drama when it was happening, I was like, so just so I'm aware of what you're saying to me here, this kid came from nothing, Oklahoma. Like, was literally in the Navy and about to get out on honorable discharge, and launched his own career on YouTube and became one of the biggest acts in the world, and has all the guys who he used to open for come open for him, puts them on shine. And then this self-avowed influencer, that's what she describes herself as, who's like said on record before, I just want to be famous, who worked at fucking Barstool, the literal bane, in my opinion, of current Gen Z and millennial right-wing bullshit. Like the alt-right pipeline.
And you know all them be emotionally abusing her ass at work every day.
Well, they like rallied around her and started writing diss songs about it. It was like, no, you just latched onto a famous guy. And even if he did all that, it's fine for you to be like, this is my story, cool. But like, what I said to Andy is what makes me not believe it is how you're centering yourself in this now very public diss track, merch. I'm launching a new podcast. You made it your brand immediately. I've been around a lot of victims, and that is not usually how they act. She is either the strongest person I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes me wonder why it happened more than once.
Yeah. Leave.
Or this is bullshit on some level.
Right.
It happened, but you liked that it happened because you were taking screen caps, because you were planning it. As soon as it happened, your first thought was, new podcast. Anyway, we've got way into the weeds, I guess.
Well, what if the emotional abuse was just, she said, hey, baby, I think I'm going to change my last name to Chicken Fry. And he goes, that's the dumbest fucking shit I've ever heard in my life.
On that note, a papaw admission I have to make here. Part of it is my papawness. Part of it is her decision to change her name to Chicken Fried. This entire time until just a moment ago, I thought we were talking about Zach Brown of Zach Brown Band fame.
Right.
And I was like, he's still that relevant that this is like people are launching careers off of a failed relationship with. I know that he still hits, but you know what I mean.
Hits,
Zach Bryan is like, he's part of the zeitgeist. That makes more sense to me.
Yeah, he's doing arenas.
Right. This whole time I thought we were talking about Zach Brown. I mean, chicken fried. Fuck yeah. I mean, I was like, that's like getting his name tattooed on her ass or something. She changed her name to Chicken Fried, and he was,
to be clear, her name was that as soon as she started on Barstool, and then that is, I think, how she met him via Barstool. But yeah, again, it's like Julie Pepperoni being with one of the fucking cats from Jersey Shore, and then like having shit to talk about him, and and you're like, all right, I don't.
Yeah, well, you heard it here first, folks. She's wrong. Going back on, we were talking about, the Salina-ness of it. In the lyrics, she does say, baby, what do you say we just get lost? Leave this one-horse town like two rebels without a cause. So clearly, this town don't hit, situation.
Right. I've always loved.
I think it's a love story.
It's definitely a love story. Do
you think she's afraid he's not going to come? Do you think she's scared he's going to say no?
Probably.
If it's like Salina, then yeah, she ought to be, because it's a tall order. It's a tough ask, but like
Morgan Wallen, dude, that's what his song was about.
I've always loved songs that I interpreted as being what I call Salina songs, which is just this type of thing. Someday by Steve Earle, and fucking Me in This Road by Chris Knight, and so many others.
I was about to say most Chris Knight songs.
Yeah, but this. I always classified this song as one of those to me. That's part of the reason why I love this song so much. So
sure.
Yeah, I didn't know it was I found a fun fact, by the way, about the writers. So I brought up Cole Swindell earlier, and his song "She Had Me" at Heads Carolina. Mark D. Sanders wrote / co-wrote both of those songs. What do y'all think?
No, it's because they took
that?
his lyrics.
Oh, okay.
It's because they took his
He
lyrics.
just gets credit for it. He just gets credit for it because they. Okay,
and that's
good call.
That's how much modern country copies rap now. They're even doing samples. I have to poop, and if I don't go, I shit myself a little earlier. We can talk about that when I get back if you want. This won't take long. I promise. It's going to come out fast.
Okay, absolutely. I believe it. I've always been jealous of your poops, honestly.
My poops are pretty good.
I know yours too. You both can speed poop, and I've never been able to do that. But
also, I can get the U part where my butt just won't butt. You know,
my butt often just refuses to butt.
Song peaked at number 2 on the Billboard Hot Country. I'll be in '96. I'll be honest with you. I definitely would have thought this would have been a number 1
for sure,
a number 1 jam. It's wild, thinking about all the country, and Drew, we'll talk shit about him while he's gone. He had mentioned like, oh, we're eventually going to run out of songs, and I showed that list of like, it was the top 500 country songs from the 90s, and one of my favorite Vince Gill songs was like number 496. So I was like, yeah, dude, we're not running out of songs. But it is crazy how many songs that are just completely like just in the zeitgeist. When you think of 90s country, it's synonymous with this. How many of them actually didn't hit number 1? Because you just assume like, oh, that one, that had to have. But what happened with a lot of these songs is there was just so many bangers out at all times that it was sort of like it's like
can't all be number ones,
right? It's like the film that's why George Strait is unbelievable, because his just all were right. But it was kind of like the Phil Mickelson effect, which is like, I'm sure you semi know what I'm talking about. It's like Phil Mickelson
was great, but he played with Tiger and
he was before Tiger, came, like Phil's a little bit older than him. It was like just like Phil's going to win every major, Phil's going to do all this stuff, and then right as he turns pro, here comes this amateur named Tiger, and he just happened he was never number 1 in the world because he had Tiger. He was always number 2. And it's just like, ain't that just the way? You know what I mean? Like never Tiger was number 1. Dude, Tiger was number 1 in the world for 15 years, dude. They go the number 1 in the world now. They go back and forth every couple months on who's number 1 in the world.
Yeah, that's wild. But I mean, I'm sure. Well, first of all, fun fact. This song peaked at number 2. Behind the number 1 hit at the time was My Maria,
which is a cover.
Yes, right. Which is in fact a cover. Yeah. And
have you ever heard the original version?
No,
they didn't change it a bit.
Really? That's
like,
wild.
It sounds exactly. Brooks and Dunn sounds exactly like that version, which is like crazy to me because like, Brooks and Dunn. It's like. It's like Wallen said, they're like, what makes a song a country song? And he said, if I sing it, it's country.
Yeah.
And I guess that's sort of the deal with Brooks and Dunn, because in my brain, that song is like undeniably country. But yet when you hear the original version that was released in the 70s, it's not a country song, but it sounds the exact same. You know what I mean?
Okay. So, wow, that is wild. So the original, it's a pop song. It's like adult contemporary top 40, that type of thing.
Yeah. Hold on, let me Maria.
Yeah, I got. Yeah, no, I've pulled it up right here. It says
B.W. Stevenson and Daniel Moore.
Yeah,
in 73. Yeah, I mean, it was just like, a fucking.
But it's wild that it sounds basically the same despite them being genres. So to be fair, I mean, in the 90s. Specific, I'm sure they still do it, but in the 90s, and we've talked about this on here before when it's come up, tree artists used to they would just like redo like R&B songs and stuff, and
they would stuff that was current,
and they would they changed it in that they sang it country like with a twang, but like they didn't really change much about it, like musically or nothing. Yeah, right. They just kind of did it, but with a twang, and now it's a country hit. So. I guess that's straight out of the playbook. I reckon.
That is, I would say that I missed that time, but like if they were to, and now it's funny because like country artists back in the '90s, they would cover an R&B song, but they would make it a country version, and now it's like every country song just sounds like an R&B song.
Mm-hmm.
Like every country love song sounds like an R&B song, and I really like that. Like, I think there was like, they wouldn't do it with just I liked it better when they did it with the Bruz stuff, but I remember like Alabama did God Must Have Spent a Little Bit More Time on You by NSYNC.
I Swear was one. That was a All
by
for
John
One
Michael
song.
Montgomery. Yep.
All for One was the bruh band that did that did I Swear, and then there was another big one too I think a Boys to Men song.
Boys to Men got the treatment several times. Yeah.
There's a couple
Start
Brian
back
McKnights.
Back at one. Yeah.
Back at one, and then also that same guy, which I think was Gary Allen. I may not be right about that, but I know Gary Allen also did a pop song. It's Not That Bad. You're Just the Best I Ever Had.
Mm-hmm.
That was not R&B. That was a pop, like an indie pop.
Yep.
Gary Allen's one of them from that era where country was sort of transitioning into what it is now that don't hit for me, but he always hit for me. I liked him. Like he was
that whole album's rad. It's he's riding a Bronco, but it's the skeleton. Like his first album, there's a guy riding a Bronco. It's the same view, but it's a skeleton. His wife died of cancer, and that album gets super dark, and it hit for me.
He also Gary Allen had one of those like where it's like, okay, I know you country, but that you're singing extra country. Like it's a big put on his like country singing accent.
I think he's from California, isn't he?
Yeah,
but I think maybe like
really?
the country. I think maybe, but but to be fair, like the country or parts like Bakersfield, or
Fresno,
or one of those places. Which like
that counts.
That
counts.
I agree. That does count.
Yeah.
I give him that. But let me make sure I'm even right about that. But I think
it's Western, right? Country and Western.
Western,
right.
yeah. Well, I was listening to Dwight Yoakam a podcast the other day because he's got a new album out, which is really good, by the way. And he did a song with Post Malone, which is really good. And he was he went on and on about his respect for Post Malone. And like I'm for Post Malone and everything he's doing. I know some people aren't, but I'm for it because it is, to me, it's genuine. Like he's genuine. Like he don't have to be doing this, but he really does love country music. And Dwight was talking about them sitting down doing stuff for the album and how like blown away he was by, Post Malone's knowledge. But like apparently when Post first started out, like that's straight up what he wanted to do. Like he wanted, when he was like 9 years old, his dad would drop him off at honky tonks and he would play. It's just that then he started screwing around with beats and, got popular. So I got mad respect for that. But anyways, Dwight was talking about like that Bakersfield scene and like how so much of it was because like families from Oklahoma and stuff would their dad would get a job working in Bakersfield doing like either oil shit or some machinery stuff. And so like there just happened to be a lot of, I guess, expats from the actual
South
or
Okies.
Midwest. A lot of Okies, yeah. And so like it makes sense that scene sort of, became that way. Because I mean, it don't get more country than Buck Owens, and I mean, he's a Bakersfield guy, so that definitely counts.
Listen, this don't hit, but in the interest of just reality, looked it up. Gary Allen's from like Los Angeles County, Whittier specifically, in Southern California. LA County's massive, but it ain't Bakersfield, and it's on the border of Orange County. Basically, that tells you anything. But also, he grew up Mormon to boot, so. Kind of a double.
Well, I'm glad his wife died.
Double. Jesus Christ.
Is he still Mormon?
I'm kidding.
Is he still
that
Mormon?
I don't know. It says he grew up Mormon, so he may not be actively Mormon anymore. I'm not sure.
Also, see if that's true, because I now wonder if I've confused my 90s crooners. Because that doesn't sound right to me.
I mean,
did his wife die?
A big part of being a country singer is growing up.
Well, his third wife. He was married and divorced 2 times first, but his third wife killed herself. And
All right.
So it wasn't cancer.
He's redneck.
Yeah, she killed herself because he was fucking Mormon and from Whittier. I wonder.
Well,
I think I'm confused. I think I'm confusing someone whose wife died of cancer with someone whose wife killed herself. Is what I've done here, guys. I'm sorry.
As long as you're from somewhere that has blue laws, you can be a country singer. I feel like that's a big portion of it. That and growing up religious. I mean, Mormon's definitely different, but like I don't know. I go back and forth on those. It's like if someone like country music is a genre and it's like, so someone that's born in Los Angeles that loves country music isn't allowed to play it because they're not from Nashville. I don't agree with that. What I don't like though is when they do the whole fake persona. Like just sing the song. You don't have to do you know what I mean?
Yeah, here's the thing with all this though, is like, and not all of them do this, and this may be why. A lot of them wear baseball caps or no hats at all. But anytime you see people in Nashville in their cowboy hat with their Western wear, like we don't live in the West.
Right.
There ain't
exactly.
no fucking cows in Nashville. Not big, you know what I mean? So it's all borrowed and, a little bit of, it's a performance.
That's true.
Yeah, and I'm okay, maybe not the wear because I do like nudie suits and I do like all that shit. But I guess like they'll lie about their background or whatever, sort of like Papa Doc. They'll Papa Doc it a little bit, and it's like
Dude,
just don't do that.
I saw in an interview the other day that Eminem added actual facts about the actor's life.
Yeah, I saw that too.
To the disc to get him to react.
That was an interview with Anthony Mackie. Anthony Mackie himself
Mackie said it. He was saying he was pissed.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
he was like, funny. And I was mad.
Yeah,
that's fucking great. He
went to Cranbrook. That's a private school. It cuts to him. He's going, damn, I did.
I saw somebody the other day lobbying for 8 Mile to have somebody needs to adapt 8 Mile to Broadway because Eminem is only the T away from being an EGOT.
Yeah. You think he Broadway? He won't even make movies if they don't do it in Detroit. I literally don't think he would come to Broadway.
But he could
sincerely don't.
Would it count if he got it as a producer or something?
Yeah, it's based on if it was best play, it's his original work, so he would win it. But then I'm thinking like, who could play him? Like who could do that?
Right.
But
we'd have to find somebody. Broadway Broadway launches people. Broadway's like one of the last places people get discovered. So we wouldn't need. We'd have to just find somebody. There's some little queer in New York right now.
For sure, that's what I was thinking. Some of those theater kids, dude, they're out of this world.
Got the hair. Already says the F slur. Perfect.
Or let Devin Sawa do it. You know what I mean? Go full circle.
He's also 60.
Mm-hmm. That don't matter. Him and Eminem are both old as shit now.
That don't matter. You can't see in Broadway. You can't see. It's not up close. You know what I mean?
We could get a lesbian to do it.
Oh, that's so true. Get Anna Taylor-Joy.
ATG.
I don't know if she's a lesbian, but she's got lesbian eyes. If that makes sense.
She has like elf eyes, fairy eyes. She's got the eyes.
Yeah, they're all bisexual.
If you ask me.
Yeah,
that's where you're confused.
Joe Rogan did a whole thing about those people with those eyes, and that's a result of us devolving as humans and turning into fish.
Okay. Well, I'm glad Joe Rogan.
Well, I'm glad Joe's on the case.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having eyes on the side of your head instead of forward because, I don't know.
So we're turning back
now.
We're
going back to being prey.
Right. Yeah, we're turning back into fish. Or
like
something like
returning to the water. That's what
the
idea.
I thought he would have gone. We're turning back into prey route because we're not strong.
Hey, this don't have nothing to do with shit, but I won't remember to say it again. You know how that meteor finna hit Earth in like 10 years or whatever?
It's not, though. No. Right?
There's a 13% chance. Which
I think it's lower than that the last time I saw it.
What the fuck ever. When that meteor is supposedly gonna maybe hit Earth, that is the same year that Demolition Man takes place.
Nice.
Makes you think.
Well, I hope Wesley
Didn't make me think.
Is still around to save us. Sylvester Stallone, one of the Hollywood ambassadors. Maybe he'll get a reboot going for the occasion. But God damn it, what were we just talking? Oh, fish. Yeah, going back to the water. That's what whales did, right?
Mm-hmm. I did know that.
They came out.
They came out and said this don't hit about the land.
Went back in the closet.
Went back in the water. Yep. Which is a wild move.
What a land whale looked like? Like they got feet and
yeah. I know what you mean, but that's like a funny question. He's like, yeah, I got a picture of it.
Well, I just
we took one.
You know how he'd be googling.
No, I know that you meant a drawing, but you said picture, and it's just very funny.
I'm thinking of how wild
not a lot of posts.
A bipedal whale would look wild because they're very top heavy. You know what I mean?
I don't think they look like that. I think it's an ancestor thing. I think there's just cows, dog. What do you got, Trey?
Yeah.
Was it cows?
They were kind of this. I mean, who knows how remotely accurate this even is thought to be? But here, this is more kind of what I had in my head. This thing over here on the right. See that? It's so so it's amphibious, but it's got legs, so it comes out on the land and stuff
That
like
looks
that.
like
But
the thing from that Chris Pratt sci-fi movie that was on Amazon. Them things, the lightning, the things that remember them things? The Tomorrow Wars or whatever.
White spikes, right?
White spikes. Them things
Now,
didn't hit.
well,
I
white
like that
spikes
movie.
look way wilder than them motherfuckers
They
right there,
do.
dude. But
They do. Did that movie hit for you?
It hit for me just fine. I
Yeah,
liked it.
good
My
plain
son,
movie.
my boys loved it quite a bit, so
Yeah,
I've seen it
movie.
multiple times. But yeah, all right. Well, so
Jo Dee Messina.
found out she's a Yankee spaghetti person, but that's okay.
That's fine.
Just still hits for me. The song still hits for me again. I guess I'll agree with Tushar, I guess, and give it 2.5. It's a big time. This is a mainstay for me personally in the pantheon of 90s country. And I know I say that a lot, but it's a big long list of mainstays, and this one is definitely for me one of them. Also, shout out to our boy BJ, who covered this song for his country cover album, Slappers, Bangers, and Certified Twangers that he did.
Yep,
This
it was
on
volume
that version.
2, I
Yeah,
believe.
BJ Barham of American Aquarium covered
He
this
did a
and
lot
crushed it. But
crushed it. Did a lot of female female artists on that. Which, by the way, I've said like, women have been screwed over in the entertainment business for years and years and years, but they were well represented in 90s country, and we were better for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, anyway,
I'm gonna
2.5
go 3.
Earnhardts. Okay.
It's you think about some other songs that I gotta acknowledge are like, if not better, more obviously a classic. And you go, damn, don't you reserve 3 stars for Bubba Shot the Jukebox? And I do, but then I think about like how happy I get when a song comes on,
Yes.
and how I always sing it, and I don't necessarily sing along all the time. She's bubbly. She tricked us into thinking she's a Southern belle, not just with her songs and her fake accent, but with her personality. It's just a song that makes me happy. I think it's a love song. I don't give a shit about the man's perspective. If he didn't go with her, I hope he's dead. I think it's as good of a pop country song as there can be. I'm going 3.
Couldn't agree more. I was going to go like 2 2/3, but then frankly, like, at first I was like, I was going to go 2 2/3 because I felt cheated, her being from Massachusetts and all, but she pulled it off so well that I got to bump her up there. And also just the fact that this was like an all or nothing thing for her. I get emotional about that. And just like, it's catchy as hell. The hook is awesome. It's a fucking earworm in the best possible way. To 3 Earnhardts. It's fucking awesome.
Only because you brought it up again. I thought of this earlier, and maybe I'm looking at it wrong. And I do appreciate that you got to spin your own backstory, and you get into an interview and you answer a question a certain way, and next thing you know, that's the narrative. But like, I'm not buying. Oh man, it was so close to being over when Tim McGraw produced my like.
Right. You must have been a little.
It was literally her debut album.
That's one of the steps. Yeah, right. That's like her debut album was produced by Tim McGraw.
And she was like 25 years old. So I'm with Drew on that.
Yeah,
like I get that she might have said, if this doesn't work out, I'm moving home. Well, it's like, well, yeah, because you blew it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that was John Hamm's thing. Like that was going to be his last audition that he did, and then he ended up getting it. Which very interesting story.
But that's different. He didn't have to get that role.
For sure. But do you know what John Hamm did before he made it big?
Yeah, wasn't he like crew on porn shoots?
He was and he was in charge of continuity. Like he would have to make sure that all like if the cigarette ashtray was in the right spot where someone just came on it or whatever.
Well, there's a lot of stories like that, and I'm not saying any of them are bullshit. People like those stories, but like Billy Gardell, very 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 funny comedian, has said that he was giving up and leaving Los Angeles to go be on morning radio in Pittsburgh, where he's from. He was leaving the comedy scene and all that. He was throwing in the towel, and he had one last audition, and it was for Mike on Mike and Molly, the Chuck Lorre show, and he got that. And then now he's been on TV.
Now he has $1 billion
every year since. Yeah, and
we
he
do
got
like
zimped
those...
up and slimmed down too. Good for him. Another fat down.
To hear it, but I was about to say one of the few. Bye, Drew. One of
did
the
that
few
in protest of Billy Gardell losing weight. Is one of the few fats, which is funny.
One of the few fats that a comedian that skinnied up and still kept hitting at a high level. Like he's got another network.
He's still got a
network
CBS
show to network
yes.
show. Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So, anyways, well, there you go. Trey, where are you going to be, buddy?
This weekend, I'm in Lowell, Arkansas at the Grove. And then next weekend is the weekend, April 11th, Knoxville with Drew, who's now gone. And then April 12th, Chattanooga with Cho, who's right there. And then a bunch of places coming up after that. So go to TreyCrowder.com and come see me. Both the Tennessee shows are both sold out, by the way. So if you guys are listening, you don't have tickets already, I'm sorry. But I hope you got them, and we'll see you there.
Every now and then, just for because I know a lot of our people go to shows by themselves. A lot of times when a show's sold out, there will sometimes be randomly like one ticket in the middle or whatever. So if you're just a solo person, don't not check. But they are, ostensibly sold out, and we look forward to seeing y'all there. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. WeLoveCorey.com. I'm bringing back my series This Week in Southern History, which at the end of this podcast, if you stick around, you'll hear a teaser for it. I'm doing I changed it up. Used to, they were just like 5-minute essays, but now I did I took my pro show format from Putting on Airs and applied it to the life of Martin Luther King Jr. Because unfortunately this is the anniversary of his assassination on April 6th. So that's what we did. You can hear the teaser right after this. So please support me at WeLoveCorey.com. It's less than a cup of coffee a month, and I put out really good work that I'm really proud of. Also, check me out. I've been streaming video games. We've been having some real good audiences. I've been doing giveaways. Like yesterday, I gave away $100 because I hit a hole-in-one in Tiger Woods. We had people in the chat throwing in money like raffle style, and I was able to I hit a hole-in-one and gave out $100. So I'm doing crazy shit like that. I'm going to set out a schedule soon, but I've been just like randomly doing it. I'm on Twitch, Corey_Ryan_Forrester, or it just pops up on all my socials. So check me out. We're doing fun things. And Trey is about to also join me on streaming, but we haven't set that date up yet because, he got a lot of stuff going on. So that being said, thank you all for listening to the Well-Read Show. We love to stick. Oh, watch Trash Daddy.
I know,
watch
I forgot.
Trash Daddy.
Yes,
it's
please
very,
watch
very funny.
On
it's
YouTube.
Extremely funny. Thank you all for listening to the Well-Read Show. We love to stick around longer, but we got to go. Tune in next week if you got anything to do. Thank you. God bless you. Good night and ski.
Ski whoop.
Martin Luther King Jr. came into this world on January 15th, 1929, in a modest little house over on Auburn Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia. The South was still stuck in its same old sorrow, sweating under the weight of the sun and, of course, its sins. Sharecroppers bent their backs in fields they didn't own, the same fields their ancestors had once been chained to. Cotton still reigned king, and Jim Crow was sitting pretty on his throne, guarded by poll taxes and police batons. The courthouse steps might as well have been altars to segregation, unmoving, unchallenging, and of course, understood by all. And it wasn't just the South. All across America, folks danced through life like the music would never stop. Jazz clubs up north, moonshine down in the hollers, stocks soaring higher than a preacher's voice on Easter morning. Herbert Hoover had just taken office, all smiles and promises, but the floor was already crumbling beneath him. That same year, the Great Depression came crashing through like a hailstorm. Money gone, jobs gone, bread lines stretching down the block, banks falling apart like knockoff Sunday suits, and out in Oklahoma, the wind started sharpening its teeth, getting ready to scrape the land dry. The world outside our borders, that wasn't looking too kind either. Hitler, the failed painter with a broken heart full of hate, was sneaking his way into power while Germany unraveled.
Britain was still stomping around Palestine like they owned it, planting seeds of unrest that would grow into generations of hurt. Stalin was locking up his own people and starving whole regions just to prove a point. Meanwhile, back home, Charles Lindbergh was America's golden boy with his head in the clouds, but the rest of us were being pulled into the dirt. Back in Georgia, things moved slow but stayed heavy. Black folks in Atlanta's colored neighborhoods were packed into tight homes, working their fingers to the bone, singing their children to sleep with church hymns and hard truths. The church wasn't just for Sundays. It was the school, the safe house, the stage, and the sanctuary. It was there in those wooden pews that young Martin first heard a preacher sing a sermon like a song, a voice full of heaven, his hands holding back hell itself. His daddy, Daddy King, was up there behind the pulpit at Ebenezer Baptist Church, preaching the gospel with the weight of a people's pain on his shoulders. That's the world Martin was born into, baptized not just with water, but with fire, fury, and a whole lot of sacred hope. And while that baby boy lay swaddled and unaware, the world had no idea what kind of force had just arrived. He was born into a country full of secrets, bootleg gin, bread lines, and back alley hangings. But one day, that same boy would stand tall and thunder out a message that would shake the ground. We can be better. We have to be. And Lord knows it was past time. And now for a more comprehensive breakdown, less poetic, of Dr. Martin Luther King's life. He was born January 15th, 1929.